Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be talking about the player character for Minecraft. This is a subject which you might think you know the basics of. I mean, the character's called Steve and he just has no real story, right? But in fact, there is a whole story behind Steve and his name isn't even Steve. It's really crazy, right? But there is a bunch of cool facts I figured I'd tell you about the player character for Minecraft that you might just enjoy in today's video. Anyway, please do like it if you do like it. It helps out the channel a lot and lets me know you do like it. And let's get straight into it, shall we? So let's start with when the character first came to existence, because when the game first came out and it was just the mining kind of test thing he was trying to make, there was no player model. It was just, you were going around, you could run around the caves and then you could mine stuff and break stuff. But it was only at some point later that they first added the R model and you could see that you were in fact a person. You weren't just a floating ghost that could pick up blocks and place them elsewhere. And this was kind of the first inception of Steve, but the real first time you could see him was when they first added multiplayer to the game, because although there was a system where you could change your skin, of course there has to be a default skin, so you're not just a floating ghost when you first come in, and this is why Notch made the Steve model. However, he was never called Steve. This is a very common kind of misconception, but the funny thing about, this model we call Steve is that when, they made him and lots of people wanted to put him in this game, because Minecraft got very popular around this time, so for instance, Super Meat Boy asked, if we're going to put him in the game, what should we call him? And, kind of as a joke, and this is kind of how he responded to everyone, he's like, Steve, ? And of course they omitted the question mark, and it kind of became a thing where everyone just calls him Steve, but nobody really knows the main character's names. It actually is just Steve with a question mark, which implies that no one really knows it. We're just kind of guessing it's Steve. And that's a kind of fun fact that a lot of people don't know. But as another fun fact people don't know is you might think Steve's been the same and he hasn't aged in these last 6 years the game's been out. But in fact, the one thing that has happened with Steve over the last 6 years is at some point when the beta first came out several years ago, Steve did have a shave. There used to be a different skin for Steve, and it's very subtle differences, but it looks like he's changed from having a smiley face to a, kind of stern face here, right? You can kind of see it. But in fact, that thing that looks like a smiley face is actually underneath his mouth, and he actually has a beard, which he then got rid of because it just didn't look right with the rest of the skin. So yes, Steve did in fact have a shave at one point in history, and his name isn't Steve. So that is the kind of facts there. But there's also a few other cool facts about Steve you might not know. So first of all, back when the game was in its early growing stages, Notch first hired a guy to actually work on extra art for the game. And as well as creating a very strange Minecraft logo, he also created a bunch of new skins that would be used as mobs for the game, as well as different player characters. And as you can see here, this is what Steve would have looked like had they not had professional disputes. This would have changed the game so much, because even though you might think that Steve is just the player character, seeing the game kind of, aesthetic change from what it is now to this sort of thing, although in some ways this is better, in almost every other possible thinkable way, this is terrifying. So there's also Black Steve, which is currently a console skin, I believe, and we also have Rana, and we have Beast Boy here. So yeah, that's very, very strange. And that was, one of the phases that Steve could have gone through. But fortunately, he didn't change back then, and in fact has only changed the once of that bearded thing I mentioned. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about Steve and some cool facts you might not have known about him. So first of all, he's actually horrifically morbidly obese. So because he's roughly 1.8 meters tall, your eyes are about 1.6, this means that his cubic density means, because if you look at him, he actually is quite wide, considering that one block is 1 meter, and he takes up most of a block, making most of the meter wide. And this means that if you work out his cubic volume, then you work out the regular cubic volume of a regular person, which is just over a gram per cubic centimeter. This means that he weighs roughly 342 kilograms, which in pounds is 750 pounds, which makes him horrifically morbidly obese, 3 times over the healthy limit, and this means that Steve is in fact morbidly obese. So, next time you're, running along like an ice corridor and making him eat like a steak every 4 seconds or a baked potato, just remember Steve's gotta watch his diet, he is horrifically obese. So anyway, let's move on to another cool piece of information that we have about Steve based on what we can observe in-game, based on the fact that, you can actually see further through fog. I've shown this in a few videos, and the fact that, you can actually see lighting a bit better when it's at the edges of your screen. Steve actually has better peripheral vision than he has regular vision, and this is actually an incredibly rare thing. Like, a lot of people can improve their peripheral vision to be around about as good as their regular vision, but having it be better is actually incredibly rare, especially since most people have tunnel vision, where you can see most things much clearer in front of you than you can at the edge of your screen, at the edge of your eye, sorry. Like, can you see something to your right now? No, you can't, but Steve can. So, yeah, hopefully you learned something in this video about Steve, and how he's not even called Steve, about how he's horrifically obese, and how now he has very weird eyes that are of slight concern to me. Maybe he's not even human. We don't even know, because nobody knows anything about Steve, except what we've covered in today's video. So I hope you did enjoy it. If you did like it, please do like it and let me know. Share it if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here. I make videos like this every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.